really funny. Sasha and Sprig are like so funny together that I'm sure they would have been great on an episode like just the two of them.
Wait, which character from Amphibia are you?
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so weird.
Oh, I love this question.
Who are you? Show your soul.
I think the only answer is that I'm the closest to Marcy, and that's why I'm the harshest on her in the story. That's the truth, man. Hey, no, you'll find when you're writing you'll find yourself doing that. So.
Oh, that's so funny.
Ooh, that's looking real good, Silver.
Yeah.
Are you a professional?
Well, Silver, actually, you know, while you're sketching away there, was there a character you struggled to draw more than others while you were boarding?
Yeah, first I have to make it look like I know. It's like, what?
Yeah, other than in this exact moment right now.
Dude, funnily enough, the character that I had the hardest time drawing was Sasha.
Oh.
Yeah, there was something about it. I feel like I had to enter like a completely different state of mind when drawing her. She's just like so angular and like so edgy. Like there's something about it. And oh, I think I know. Like the thing that really fucked with me the most was her hair. I don't know if anyone's ever done like a fan art of her, but yeah, like her hair is asymmetrical. I'll see if I can draw it. Like, I'll do it really fast.
Also, you guys, Silver is like such an amazing artist, incredible board artist.
Yeah.
Barrel's Warhammer, the one where Sasha and Brian go and find a giant hammer. He did all those scenes of her pulling the goddamn thing out.
Yeah.
He's so talented.
Yeah. So Sasha was like really hard to draw, honestly. So that's why when like I had an opportunity to do the design for what she would look like after the time scale, I actually just was like, fuck it, we're gonna make her hair symmetrical now.
She's gonna get a haircut.
She's not gonna have like the ponytail on one end, she's gonna have like her hair down, it's gonna be great. And you know what? I think all the artists on the team thanked me for it. Yeah. So.
She came in and worked a box of chocolates on your desk.
Yeah, I got a promotion that day.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, obviously, you guys working on the show versus working on Marcy's journal, like very different experience. You know, Marcy and Anne write about Sasha very differently in their respective sections in the book. Matt, can you talk a little bit about how like you and the writer approached that? You know, how you made that happen?
Yeah, so I wish we actually had the sample pages for you guys, but it's really funny because in Marcy's journal, most of it is written by Marcy, and then Anne takes over for a bit. And how they talk about the character Sasha is a bit different, where like Marcy's like, oh my god, she's so cool, you know what I mean? Look at her armor, her hair, she's a style icon. Anne's is so like deeply complicated because they had such like a bumpy relationship where she's like, my angel, my devil, you know what I mean? Like my hero, my villain, or whatever. It was like all these things. It was like beat poetry a little bit, like in that section. And the writer, Adam Kolas, he really wanted to communicate that, like, you know, Marcy had an affection for Sasha that was different than Anne's affection for Sasha, in the sense that, like, Anne's was more complicated. It was like they were fighting, you know what I mean? They were pushing up against each other and stuff like that. And like with Marcy, it was a little bit, I guess, a little bit more surface level, where she's like, I love Sasha. She's great, you know what I mean? And like that was it. But for Anne, it was always a little bit murkier, I guess.
And that was always like the plan with the journal, I think, from very early on in concept, was that it was Marcy's journal, but the idea that, well, then Anne gets her hand on it and starts writing notes in the journal and starts taking it over, and then we get to see all these different characters' perspectives on one another, which I think is such a cool, you know, way to have a little bit extra info after watching the show.
Yeah, what's so great about books is that you really can kind of word vomit, like word diarrhea, and it's fine. When you do that on screen, people are like, man, it's a long speech. You know what I mean? But like when you're reading a book, you're like, give me all the thoughts and give them to me in a book format. You know what I mean?
As long as you don't go the John Galt route.
Sorry?
As long as you don't go the John Galt route.
What does that mean? I don't. But also, you know, that's the advantage of a diary too, is it's very personal. And I don't know who actually writes a diary, not like thinking a little bit in their head, like somebody else is gonna read this someday.
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah, I had a diary for like 2 weeks in like high school. That's as much as I could do. I don't know. Did you keep a diary?
I have one.
You have one.
Why?
Right now.
Why?
No, I'm just curiosity. Silver, do you have one? Yeah.
I mean, like, my sketchbook is sort of there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I usualize my notes.
I had a diary when I was about 17, and I found it like 10 years later and then burned it. No one can ever see this.
Spirit come out.
Yeah. I also have a life journal still. I can't bear myself to delete it, but it is locked down.
I had one where like I was really mad at this movie Over the Hedge, which is like I was just so upset, and I was like 15 or something. I was like, I hated the movie. The reasons I hated the movie, blah blah blah. And then like I got hired at DreamWorks, and then I was like, I want to delete that.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Well, Saul, since you've been working on Art of Amphibia, is there anything in particular you've noticed, like as you're going through and you're sort of examining the show? Are there any like trends or like thoughts seeing all the artwork coming together like this?
I'd say the themes within the show and within Art of Amphibia are very much around teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the show, the girls and all of their allies have to come together to do something great. And seeing all the artwork together and all the different artists and writers and board artists coming together to create one cohesive show, I feel like illustrates the amount of teamwork and trust that is required to make a show. So I think it's wonderful to see it. I'm very honored to be able to help showcase all that artwork.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's very cool. Anna,
Yes.
how did you stay in character when you were voicing Sasha? Were there any like do's or don'ts when it comes to like her vocal patterns or like the words she uses?
Not really. She just kind of has my voice. I think there were a couple times where, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Matt had to be like, be less aggressive. And I was
Less
like,
aggressive for Sasha?
I know, there were some moments where we were like, a little too bitchy. It's a little too bitchy. But like, I don't know, like I think the moments that I enjoyed the most filming was when she became kind of like a general. So I don't even think you know this. My dad's a Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel. Yeah. So I did like ROTC summer camps for like the first 20 years of life. My goal was to become a Marine officer. And so there was like almost like, oh, this is a life that wasn't when I got to be Sasha, like ordering people around. But like having my, it was very easy to do because I was like, oh, it's just my dad. Like just be your dad in this. But yeah, usually Matt was so great at just like bringing out different intonations or being like, hey, have like more of a soft thing here, or like go into the forgiveness more. Like you were really good at emotionally directing the whole show.
But not emotionally manipulating. That's so crazy cool. See, I didn't know that. That's amazing. We're learning things here today.
And that actually kind of leads in. So, am I right in that pandemic stuff happened towards the end of the show, right? What was that like having to?
Can you be more specific?
I mean, I don't want to say the pandemic that's now over because we're all kind of still living in it a little bit. But did you have to like pivot to the way that you were making the show around lockdown and things like that? What was that like?
Yeah, so it was different for all of us, and it was especially horrible for me because like. As a showrunner, your job is communication, and it's inspiring other people to do their best work, and it's to pull the team together and move towards some goal. And I have to tell you, it's really hard to do that via compartmentalized kind of satellite, like Zoom meetings, where we're like, all right, guys, we can do this, right? Like one last stretch, and it's like I'm a little box. Like, and also like, I'm like, I know you guys are playing Animal Crossing right now. I know you're.
Show me your hands. Show me your hands.
I was in a meeting, like a production meeting, like, okay, so we're not gonna make this. And like, I heard someone pull up a fossil, like, and I was like, I don't care who's doing it, but like, I need you in the meeting. And they were like, sorry. It was like extremely challenging for us to get the equipment and to kind of rally our enthusiasm and still get the show done. Anna, what was it like recording?
I don't remember. Didn't we try a bit to like Disney sent us equipment to film at home, and then they were like, "This is unusable."
Yes, they sent you a
mic.
case, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I remember. Unfortunately, it was the audio quality, not the performance. The performance was awesome.
Thanks.
Fantastic. But the audio quality on Barrels of Warhammer needed to be all redone.
Oh yes,
And
I do remember
there
that.
was just something crunchy about it that out loud, like the audio studio couldn't. And those guys were like wizards. They were going, these actors were recording their takes in their closets at home, and the sound engineers would go in there and like massage them. I don't even know what that means. But like, you know, make them sound pretty good, actually, for TV quality. But then sometimes, I think that was the biggest wrinkle.
Yeah, it was also hard because it was like everyone decided to do construction like in the pandemic, so or like adopt a ton of animals, which was great. But like then everything at home became so noisy, and I remember Disney would be like, "There's noises constantly in your audio files," and I was like, "I live with 6 cats, and I don't know."
You're like, you want me to go outside and kill all the peacocks?
No, that's so funny. I was actually saying to the guys earlier that one of my best friends works at Out Loud at the studio that does all the audio, and all she could say was fantastic things about everyone involved with Amphibia, which was so nice to hear because she's not afraid to tell me when people are problematic, and she was just like, "Oh no, I love those guys. They're great to work with."
I'm gonna start being problematic just to see if she.
Yeah, just I'll give you her name later so you can like throw a bottle of water at her next time. Yeah. So okay, Matt. Obviously, there's a very passionate fan following for Amphibia. Has there ever been a time where a fan theory absolutely nailed a big plot twist that was coming up, and how did you feel about when fans were able to figure storylines out?
So there's two ways to do this. There's like the plot twist that you know are coming, and that creates tension because you're like, when is this gonna happen? So it's more not what is gonna happen, but when is gonna happen. So King Andreas was like a big one where it's like, I think this king is evil, you guys. And like for a long time, like he's too friendly, and he's got like a basement that he goes down and he talks to like some kind of evil god. I think he's a bad guy. So like, it's funny when I hear King Andreas described as a twist villain, when this guy's literal introduction, he says like, the pieces are starting to come. He's got anyone who's introduced with a chessboard, it's not a good guy. I'm sorry. But I think, you know, no one predicted Marcy being sort of the one who got them trapped in Amphibia. I think we buried the lead so well. I'm very proud of that twist, I guess. I would describe that as the show's one true twist. Andreas being the bad guy, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I knew he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's more a question of when is he going to be the bad guy and how bad is he going to be? You know what I mean? But really with Marcy being the one who is a little bit more at fault for getting them all there in the first place. That was what the writers' team was the most proud of, I'd say.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
I'd say Marcy getting stabbed was kind of crazy too.
That's not like a twist, though. That's not like a problem, like story point or anything.
Disney show, you don't really think that that's one of the characters, and then
That's not a twist, it's a stab.
Interesting
Well, Silver, I see you. I'm loving these. I keep looking over at
Look at
these
that
little
hop
sketches.
on.
This is so cool.
I walk in right now. I'm trying
So
to
true.
No, these are awesome.
hear what you guys are talking about, but it's just like I can only live in one world or the other.
No, fantastic. But tell us a little bit about what the process of storyboarding is like for someone who's never done it, never seen it. Like, how does it go from concept, written words on a page to a finished sketch? You know, finished artwork.
For sure. Real quick, can I get a show of hands? How many people here have seen a storyboard? Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah. To this day, I still can't like explain what I do to my parents. I'm like, yeah, all the pictures. I'm like, okay, sweet honey, you live with your cartoons. Yeah. So script. So this is a script-driven show, right? And that basically just means that there are writers, really good writers. Yeah. I mean, usually. I mean, if you're on Amphibia, they're good writers. Yeah. So yeah, we'll do a table read, and then
Wait, what's a table read?
table read. It looks a little bit like what we're doing right now. We'll come up with a script, and we'll just like sort of.
And we'll do like funny character voices, guys. He's leaving out the part where we do like funny voices and we like act like the characters.
That's the best part.
That's the best. It's the best.
Matt, can you make this one real quick?
Oh, what story?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my God, yeah. So like, you all know what storyboarding is. It's essentially like making comic book panels that are the bones of what you're watching. And you know, it's gotten to the point in TV production where the storyboards are getting like really close to what you see. Like I don't know if you guys have seen like the crazy storyboards for shows like Rise of Ninja Turtles, or you know what I mean, or even like Castlevania, but it's kind of overlapping a little bit with animation these days, where you're really trying to sell the story. Like you've got this script that is good, you're trying to sell it and plus it and make it even better visually, you know what I mean? But it's a scary thing, and you're the first person to turn words into visuals for the first time, and it's a lot of pressure. And you when you pitch it, you do the funny voices, you sort of time it out as if like the audience is watching it, so it's a high pressure job, man.
Oh, dude, it's very high pressure. The way I like to look at it is that I'm kind of starting a lot of conversations within the production. So like, let's just say there's a line like, oh my god, it's great in hand, they do a high five. There's so many ways that could work. You know, like, depending on the emotion of the scene, it could be a situation where Sprig is just like, yeah, they do a high five. Or it's like one of the things where like, he does a backflip and he does a tongue high five.
Yeah.
It's like kind of gross, but you get to pretty much make those kind of visual decisions for literally every single line that appears in the script. And you know, we have it down pat so that we have like a 4-week system. So the first 2 weeks we'll do a rough pass where I'll basically just like try my best to visualize what the storyboard would look like in like the roughest way possible. Like, hey, does this joke work? Is this expression funny? And you know, Matt will come back, he'll give me notes, he'll like,
no,
you really, he'll be like, dude, you really gotta step up your game. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you got it. And then, you know, we'll address those notes and pass it along. You know, hopefully it's not like a mess for everyone who works after.
The worst is when you get a script and it just says, there's an awesome fight.
The number of times I've had to fight, I was like, and I do like this really sick
It's awesome.
It's so cool. Just use your imagination.
So the worst phrase to say, just use your imagination. Just complete freedom with this one. Go nuts.
I will say that, we're gonna give you that kind of thing didn't happen that often.
Really?
Yeah.
We had one on Gravity Falls where there was an episode where like there's like a bunch of dippers and they're like fighting each other. And I think it
I
said,
remember that, yeah.
and the line was, it's a total melee. What does that look like? You know what I mean? Like, so.
You know, it looks like Smash Brothers Melee. Yeah. He does a spot dodge. Shield.
So, I guess question, it would be great if we had Adam here to answer, but we unfortunately do not. So Matt and I guess Sol, if you have any input on this, like, working on Marcy's journal was obviously very different to the show. Like, writing for the journal is going to be very different to what you were writing on the show. Like, did you already have a lot of the journal in your mind when you were creating the TV show, or was it like, oh, now I have to figure out the rest of the pages as we were going along with the project?
So we were super fortunate to have already produced a little like animated short called like Marcy's Theme Song Takeover, which was like this really funny thing that Disney TVA put together. The shorts department, they're amazing. They sort of did it without me, like, and when I say that, I mean they were so good that like they didn't really need much input. Like I saw it and I was like, this is fantastic, go for it. Like it was like she woke up in Utopia and fell down like a flat. So that the short actually became our kind of soup base for the journal, because then we could start there and be like, okay, let's say there was a fake TV show that you've never seen, and that it was that like little piece of animation that covered the 3 months that Marcy was by herself before she reunited with Sasha and Anne. And so then from then on, like that was all original stuff, and then we knew after that, then when it hooks up to the show, then we would start to deliver the show from Marcy's point of view. So there was a really nice kind of, almost like we had these things in place already to work with. And this was very lucky, the show was over. So at that point we knew like every little fan complaint, like every single goddamn one. So we just like went down the list and we're like, all right, do we care about this? Do we want to address it? And it was a nice kind of like reflection on the show, like via these characters.
That's really neat. That's very, very cool.
Timing was really good, actually.
That's fantastic, yeah. Yeah, I know, I hadn't seen Amphibia before we started working on Marcy's journal, and I immediately fell in love with it. I was like, well, I gotta watch this show if we're gonna make a book about it. And yeah, I
was watching it, I was rewatching it again just so I could like catch up, and I was like, wait, this show's actually really good. really onto something.
Anna, you were gonna say?
I was going to ask if there is something you would have done differently now, since it's been two years since the show is over and you've been time to really digest.
Yeah, you know, it's absolutely. There's, you know, I'm very much a like let's just move forward kind of person. And it's so funny you were saying like I was watching the show. I never watched the show. Like, and in fact, like if like you know my wife puts it on in the background or something, I'm like. Like, I can't do it. It's just work for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it. It's like, you know, I don't know, I'm sure many of you are artists. It's hard to look at your own work sometimes. It's difficult. Yeah, you know, nothing is made in a vacuum. And so much of Amphibia was made because of the network it was made at and the people who gave the notes that they gave and the environment at, like the politics of the studio at the time. I do often wonder like what the show would have been like divorced from that particular environment, but then again, that's probably why it's exactly the way it is too. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like I was so fortunate to work with such lovely people and make something that we were all very proud of. So it was good. It was a good time. Moving forward. Moving up.
That's awesome. I got a couple questions for you here, Anna. First of all, what was the hardest Sasha moment to record?
I don't think there was one.
Ooh,
I
that's a
mean,
good
she was
answer.
just so fun to record that I was never like, oh, yeah, I don't know. She was just really in my wheelhouse. I think like a lot of the things I get cast as, you know, as a live action actress are very much like either the cool sardonic bisexual girl or like the mean bitch in high school. And so I felt like Sasha was kind of like a perfect marriage of like the characters I typically get cast as because she's kind of this sort of bully who is a leader who needs to reflect on how can I inspire people versus intimidate them with fear. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was ever a moment where I was like, I'm really struggling with her emotional arcs in this because I think there's so many things that paralleled like who I was as a person that I was like, oh, I know how to apologize to a friend for you know kind of bulldozing over them, or I really know what it's like to ask for forgiveness. Like a lot of the arcs that you gave Sasha were really resonant for me.
Were you good at like yelling? You know, like battle cries and stuff. You were good at
They were like, they actually had to turn me down. They had to be like,
oh,
do
really?
less.
They're like, oh man, Jesus Christ, man.
They're like, you're gonna blow out your voice.
Yeah.
So I guess that almost answers the other question, but I was going to say, looking back at Sasha's whole story arc, because she had so much growth through the series, is there anything in hindsight that you think you might have done differently if you were to restart over from episode 1?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have, if it were up to me, maybe I would have made her even more of a bitch because, you know, then her flip would have been a little bit, yeah. But at the same time, I was like, she felt very grounded. She felt like this is a, you know, like a young girl who's like, has a very strong personality, who kind of has the opposite problem most young women do, where it's like, most young women are taught to like be quiet and not stand up, and Sasha had to learn to like sit down, you know, and bring other people to the table. But I don't know, I really love her. She's like, out of everything I've ever really done, like voice acting wise, like Sasha is the #1 character that gets brought up to me all the time, to the point where I was like, I need to cosplay this bitch. Like, what am I doing?
And also in the story, like, the second she recognizes, like, I should sit down, that's when they're like, no, actually, you should do it.
Yeah, actually, we need a military leader.
Well, what I'd really love to do now is actually open this up to any audience questions that you guys might have. We do have a microphone over here if you guys want to line up if you've got any questions. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, excellent. Love it.
You have time to shine, use it wisely.
Our shows sort of ended up being sister shows in a way. Outside of that table read you did, I believe it was one of the Comic-Cons, do you wish you could have done a more proper Owl House and Amphibia crossover?
Oh yeah, we would have loved to. I mean, you know, and again, the night is young, friend, you know what I mean? Like, you see all these shows coming back, like Adventure Time, regular show, like, those are all the shows from like the 2010s era. Just give it a good 10 or 15 years. We'll all be 100 years old. But yeah, we'd love to. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I wanted to ask, how would you continue the show if you could?
So we do have some cool ideas for continuing the show or continuing the story. Please buy Art of Amphibia and keep supporting these books.
Yes.
And they take you on some kind of journey, who can say?
So, technically two questions, and if that's okay, but here's one major one. Given how vital, especially Marcy's parent, Sasha and Marcy's parents were to basically setting up the character arcs and basically setting the events of the show into motion, I'm kind of surprised that when Anne got back, we never got an episode wherein Sasha and Marcy's parents come to her and go, "Have you seen our daughters? Where are they? What happened?" Because especially Marcy, given how their movie boy was so vital, I'm kind of shocked that we never really got any follow-up with them. It felt like it would have made for a very impactful, emotional episode, especially given it's about all about family choice and family reconciliation. And
So the question is, why didn't we do an episode like that?
yeah.
So the answer is simply a numbers thing, which is that, like I said earlier with the Sprig and the Sasha thing, you think you have more time for these things and these stories than you do when you actually set out to make it. And in the case of these two girls and their families, because Sasha has a separated family, she has like 2 sets of parents.
Oh, God!
Yeah, and then with Marcy's parents, I was looking at 6 parents, like 6 adults. And and I was like, I don't have the space or the runway to kind of introduce 6 new adult characters and do them justice. So we have a great scene in the Christmas episode where Anne writes the letter to them and signs it anonymously just to show that we are thinking of those families. But yeah, to bring them and to really do them justice, you would really need to be really careful with that. And again, because in the canon Sasha's parents are separated, that's just a whole lot of people.
Oh God, and that's probably a whole nother level of baggage.
That's like 2 22-minute episodes just to like introduce these people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the second question I was going to ask, if you could do any sort of if you could do any sort of non-Disney crossover between the Owl House and another property, what would you do? I mean between Amphibia and another property.
Cool. Oh, what a
Good question. I love that. That's fun.
Yeah, good lord. Sergeant Frog, I guess. You know what I mean? Oh my god,
so
great
good.
question, man.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you. Hello.
This isn't necessarily Amphibia related, but if Gloria and Sasha met, what do you think? How do you think that would go? And who would win a fight?
Sasha would win in a fight, hands down. Gloria would throw hot coffee and scream and run. And sorry, what was the first part of that? If they met, what would they be like?
If it doesn't go down a fight, how would that work?
I think Gloria would come to Sasha's aid to be like her, her servant, her pleadling. Like, Gloria would be so eager to please. Sasha would be like, sick, this is my new friend.
And one more, is it okay if I ask Matt one more question? Okay. In the leaked pilot video with Sasha's green eyes.
Oh yeah.
What's up with that?
Oh, what's up? The question is, what's up with that? So, obviously there was always like some kind of like magical possession thing. We ended up going with Darcy. It was the same kind of thing where I was like, oh, what if one of them actually gets like taken over by something? But it was such an early pilot stage. We were just trying stuff, and that was a cool idea that got tossed around. So.
Cool. Thank you.
I really love the show. It's probably one of my favorite Disney Channel shows at this point.
We appreciate that.
It is. Do we have anything to look forward to from any future projects or things any of you will be a part of?
I was worried you were like, do we have anything to look forward to in life? I was like, yeah.
You're fine.
Best years are ahead. I think actually that was like one of your, what we were gonna say, what we're all working on now.
Yeah, absolutely. We could do that right now.
Let's
Go
do
for
it
it,
now.
guys. Let's do
Great
promos.
setup. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm working on a couple things. I'm working on a feature with Sony.
So excited.
It's going cool. I'm making these anti-racism shorts for Disney Junior. I actually have a graphic novel coming out early next year that will be announced soonish, and I'm very excited to share it with you guys. So anyway, moving on, Anna, where can they find you these days?
Well, I'm currently on tour. I do stand-up comedy, so I have a 1-hour special. I talk about, trigger warning, it is about my sister's suicide. So I'm doing that at Dynasty Typewriter in LA on July 19th. But I also am a writer as well, so I have a show with FX, and then a show with Hulu, and then a movie set up with the studio, so I'll probably be in development for a minute.
Amazing.
Thanks so much. I'm working on a feature at Netflix right now.
Wow. That's so cool. We only have a couple of minutes left, so real quick, we are going to be doing a signing with Matt at our booth, at booth 920 in the exhibit hall. That's going to be from 12 o'clock. If you have a copy of Marcy's journal, if you got some Amphibia merch you want to bring up, come on down. If not, we have copies of Marcy's journal available for sale, and we do have free Amphibia posters at our booth. So come by and get one. I think let's do one more question, and then we'll wrap it up. But you guys can come to the booth and ask us any questions. All right? Sorry, y'all.
Lucky winner.
Yeah.
Yay!
Go ahead.
So what was the thought process behind the Guardian and like Goddess and the fandom is taking to calling her?
So the thought process behind, and it's such a broad question, by the way. No, it's okay. So the thought process really was that I wanted this teen girl who had spent 3 seasons learning and changing and growing to be offered like ultimate power, and to turn it down because she knows enough now that she's like not ready for that. So everything was in service of that choice for Anne, which is sort of like, oh, this is really about how you need to recognize that in life you're continuing to change and you're continuing to grow, and that even though she's made this big sacrifice, it doesn't mean she's like reached perfection or something. Like she's ready for like godhood, which is like almost sort of what it feels like sometimes when you have characters like Neo from The Matrix or something, where it's like, this guy's cooked, man. He's perfect as is. But it's like, no. The show's theme is always going to be about like there's more room to grow and things are going to happen to you in life. And so the Guardian was there to facilitate that growth for Anne.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Guys, thank you so much for coming.